Hey, everybody, welcome to another edition of State Champs Michigan's Hangtime. This one a little bit different this week as me and a couple of my colleagues, we are out on the West Coast supporting some Lawrence Technological University business. But of course, on the ones and twos, we've got Scott Burnstein and TJ Kelley in the house because this was something we had to do. We are now in the districts. We're in the second season, which means we need to talk about what's going on. Now, this is going to be a little bit of a quicker show than what we normally do because we're on a schedule. We've got to catch a plane here in just a little bit. So let's get going and waste no more time. First off, right off the bat, got to get your opinion, boys, on the Mr. Basketball Final Five. There was a lot of hubbub going around Twitter and other platforms due to the fact that R.J. Taylor was left off the list. What are your thoughts now that it's official? Start with you, TJ.
Let's say this. Usually your resume over the years going into your senior year helps a lot with Mr. Basketball. Obviously, R.J. Taylor has that. If you're looking from a statistical point of view, obviously, there were guys that had better numbers than him. But if you look at the team, if you look at what he brings as the point guard to Grand Blanc, and again, what they have losses to Brother Rice, losses to and a loss to North Farmington. And so if you look at that, you lose to two top three teams, then I think that there's a lot of value that, isn't on the stat sheet. And I think that that's one of the important things that we should recognize is that it's not all about numbers. It's about bringing a winning to the team. And I don't think Grand Blanc is the same team without or if they didn't have R.J. Taylor. So, I know that there are obviously a lot of people that would be disappointed in that. But, congratulations to the other five. They're very well deserved of it. At the end of the day, the voters voted how they felt, and that's how things operate. Rather than Scott just saying, hey, starting five from North Farmington should be all Mr. Basketball. No, I'm just but yeah.
It's very layered, and we don't have a ton of time to deep dive this, but just my quick 2 cents is that I don't really understand the protocol or the process, why we seem to be hemmed into this. We need 5 or we need 3. I mean, RJ was clearly deserving. So if this year you wanted to have 6, then just have 6. I don't like the precedent that it sets, and I don't like the fact that, and this is kind of neither here nor there, but I think it's something that should be noted is that, the way history is going to look back on a candidate class or a vote, to me, it matters. It matters for the brand of Mr. Basketball, the Hal Schramm Mr. Basketball Award. It matters for the people that are behind it. It matters for the MHSAA, even though they're not an official award giver. But I don't know. The optics, I'm puzzled by the optics when you're going to have somebody that, with whether or not he's a Mr. Basketball candidate in 2023 or not, you have someone that will go down as one of the best backcourt playmakers in the history of our state. And I don't think that's an overstatement. This year, I know there was some critiques of him in some of the big games. I heard from, this was discussed in the process of who they were going to nominate, that he had single digits in a couple of those games. But this wasn't a team that had fallen off since the state championship. They weren't 8-12 or 10-10. This was a team that still finished, I think, 19 or 20-2. So I just don't like that you're gonna look back on this in 5 or 10 years and you're gonna be like, where's R.J. Taylor?
Right. Well, he's got as many wins. Obviously, he and Caden Brown, they have the most wins of let's say if he was on, so let's say 6 guys. But I think that wins should be should be a big statistic. You lose Ty Rodgers and you still make it back to the
If they had a horrible
season,
then it would make more sense to me. They should have just. Okay. I'm not saying they should have kicked Ryan Hurst off or Curtis Williams off. Right. They should have just had 6.
Right.
Understood. Point taken, point made, and I think you guys both spoke exactly the way that I don't think a lot of people are feeling, just a little more bewildered more than anything. But we know that RJ has got going to have a great finish to his high school career, and he will, moving forward, do something special, hopefully at the next level. So one thing BCAM is doing very well, you're going to have a chance to listen to the conversation or watch the conversation I had with Greg Immick, who is the Grand Haven head coach. He put together a really great proposal that has already gone through the basketball committee for the MHSAA regarding seeding in the state tournament. They've made some strides into making things a little bit more equitable, but they are prepared, hopefully, by the start of next season. If it goes through the MHSAA executive board, you're going to get an opportunity to see some really cool things. We'll get these guys quick comments on that a little bit later, but just wanted to mention that is the conversation this week in our State Champs Michigan Hangtime Chalk Talk. So real quick, Scott, just because, again, we're pressed for
I
time
know.
today, but the Orchard Lake situation seems to have taken another turn.
It's over with. Checkmate. MHSAA wins. I don't know. Do what you want with that. But there's been 2 court hearings since the last time that we had a Hangtime episode, and just like what had been happening over the last couple months, to the very end, this was a roller coaster. The day before the regular season ended, the judge granted an injunction. The federal judge granted the 2 sophomore Isaiah Hines and Jaden Savory's and the junior Angel Kejwowski from Macedonia were granted eligibility via an injunction against the MHSA's attempt to block their eligibility. So they played in the final game of the regular season. Isaiah Hines actually had 23 points. Jaden Savory, I believe, had 10 or 11 points in 10 minutes. And then they were getting ready to play on Wednesday night in the semifinal. And about, I think, in the minutes before the game, a judge enacted an injunction against the injunction. So the MHSAA appealed and was successful in blocking these 2 kids from getting on the floor in 2023. That doesn't mean that the court case itself isn't going to end up in the favor of the players. It just means that right now the judge is saying that everybody kind of has to go back to their separate corners and reconvene after the state tournament. I think it's a shame. I think that there's just this was a 3-ring circus, and it looks bad 360, in my opinion. The only people that don't look bad here, in my opinion, are the 2 15-year-old kids that have only got to play 3 games in their sophomore year. And I just don't see where this comes. And the last thing I'll say on it, it seems very inconsistent. There have been players transferring into Orchard Lake St. Mary's over the last couple of years, living in the dorms. Nobody said anything about it. St. Mary's is a school that's been boarding kids since literally the 1880s. So to try to say that St. Mary's isn't a boarding school is strange to me. And then I think, and this is neither here nor there, but I think you're going to have collateral damage in this, is that you're essentially driving the best player of the state out of the state. Real last thing I'll say is it doesn't make sense to me why I talked to the MHSA literally 5 days before they decided to rule them ineligible in December, and they said they're eligible. We have no problem with these kids. It's a problem with the Catholic League. And then when the Catholic League gets thrown out of court, everything changes, and now the MHSA has a problem. I just don't like the way that looks.
What an interesting web we have woven with this particular case. And hey, you want to go down a fun rabbit hole? Go to Twitter and check out the conversations between
Yeah.
Mick
Yeah.
McCoy
The free
and Todd
press,
Covert.
the free press, and Todd Covert, the head coach at St. Mary's.
That's an interesting read. Never,
But they were not in uniform on Wednesday in the district semifinals at Bloomfield Hills against West Bloomfield.
Right.
St. Mary's still won by 10 points. And then they'll play Brother Rice for the district championship without Hines or Savory.
Okay, great. Sounds good. We're going to get both these guys' opinions on some district finals that they find intriguing. That's going to end the show. First off, what I'm going to do is give you a quick recap of some scores that the State Champ Sports Network is covering right now. Cass and King got together one more time in a district semifinal. This time it was Cass beating King 71-59. Fenton over Howell 56-49. Oak Park defeated Renaissance 66-45. And it was Zeeland West on the west side over Granville in double overtime, mind you. 75-69 was the final in that one. Cass will play Detroit Western, who beat River Rouge for the district final. Fenton will play Heartland, who beat Holly. Oak Park will play UD Jesuit. who took care of Berkeley, and Zeeland West will play Hudsonville, who disposed of Jenison. Those are the matchups in those particular district finals. Either one of you two want to make a comment on any of just those games?
Well, yeah, hats off to Cass. I'm kind of surprised at Western beat Rouge. The Cass, going through. I thought that they might, this is their hiccup. If they're going to have a hiccup, it'll be in this district. But yeah, they should be rolling pretty smoothly. And then, hats off to Zeeland West. I think Merritt Alderink is one of those guys where, he's got multiple offers from, Mac and Horizon schools, at 6'6" and junior, he's still got a lot of ways to go. And I think that, this could be a way of, ways of him, having a coming out party, with a win versus Granville. And if they want to making it through districts, then, then they want to be in that region with Muskegon saying that they get by Reed's Puffer. But yeah, hats off to Merritt for what he's doing. And, it's great to see so much talent in the state.
I zeroed in on the fact that Oak Park took out Renaissance, and now we'll get another shot at UDJ. There's been some really good games in the districts between Oak Park and UDJ over the years. I think of a couple of years back when Sonny Wilson scored 6 points in 3 seconds.
Yeah,
4-pointer.
Reggie Miller, Isaiah Thomas.
Yeah, but I would say that UDJ is the clear favorite here, but Oak Park under Duran Shepard, I've talked about it on the pod before. This is a completely different group than you've seen at Oak Park probably in 30 years since the Howard Golding era, or the era of teams that won a state championship back in '84, went to a couple Final Fours. But this is a very disciplined Oak Park team. A lot of motor and moxie, and they're young guys. This is a lot of sophomores that don't know that they're sophomores. And between the Hutchins brothers, Smith Harris, Robert Smith and Jason Harris, Lawan Holloway in the middle, a couple other guys I know I'm forgetting, I think they could give UDJ a scare. So I'm excited for that district final.
Okay, guys, moving on. One of the more interesting interviews I had an opportunity to do this year was with Greg Immink the other day of Grand Haven High School. And again, they already see the top 2 teams in a district. There is still a lot of disparity when it comes to regions. They want to have it done more by region because there'll be some that have 52 teams, some who have 40 teams. And so it is something that the basketball coaches have proposed to the MHSAA. The basketball original committee has ruled it or voted for it unanimously. It's going to go before the executive board. Here's just a brief look at some of what we talked about just the other day.
Tough loss, right, on Monday night, Coopersville. How would you assess the Bucs season now that it's in the rearview mirror?
Well, I think like a lot of teams that probably didn't advance beyond Monday, it ended a little bit too soon. But all in all, a great year for us, finishing 17-6. I think a lot of people heading into the season would have not expected that from our team. So a lot of credit to our guys, the time and the sacrifice they put in to making it a great year. And above all, what an awesome group of students to be able to coach and players to be able to coach. And that makes the season a little bit more special for the head coach.
Yeah, I mean, in the end, that's what it's all about. And these guys, I'm sure have lifelong friends now that they'll connect with and stay connected with as they move on to whatever it is that life holds for them in the future. Do you feel good about the group you have coming back?
I do. We've got a group of really hardworking juniors that will be asked to step into a little bit bigger role next year with more responsibility, not only on the court, but in terms of leadership as well. And then, we've got a JV team that fared very well this season, and we're excited about them as well. And it's just up to us coaches to now figure out how we can put all those pieces together and have hopefully another good season.
All right. So once again, I want to thank Greg Immink for doing that. Great interview, and just a quick 10 seconds from each of you on your thoughts about really trying to get some really true seeding for the basketball playoffs, so that if teams say Saginaw and Saginaw Arthur Hill, let's say back in the day, would meet in the regionals and not at districts.
Well, I'll say this, saying that the legwork was already done. I listened to the interview, as far as the seeding, I think that's the big big obstacle, let's say this, before it was done. It's great that they've got that done, and I think that, seeding for regionals, I mean, it makes all the sense in the world. You're just going to have, better games further down the line, and, you're still going to have some really good matchups. I know that top 10 matchups and stuff like that was kind of a problem that guys were looking at, as far as in districts. But, I think let's say this, they've already voted on it. I think they're going to figure it out, and it's going to work in the best for the kids and MHSA.
I love it. And that's I don't need to expand much more, but I'll just say that when I left high school and I had been followed the MHSA high school sports, high school basketball since I was a little kid. I went and lived in Indiana. I went and lived in Illinois, and I got exposed to the two athletic associations, high school athletic associations in those two states, and they always seeded. And I remember looking at it, and I'm like, why don't we do that? And now we're doing it.
Absolutely. All right, great. Hey, guys. So again, I said this is a little bit more of an abbreviated show because we've got a plane to catch so we can head home and leave this beautiful sunshine and enjoying the snow with you in Michigan. So, but it's all good. We've had a great trip here out on the West Coast. I do want to say that if you want to catch the Greg Imming conversation in its entirety, you can go to Spreaker.com. That's where the audio podcast lives, Spreaker.com. Just look up State Champs Network. You can also find it on YouTube, the entire video call, as well as on our Facebook page. TJ's final rankings are out. You can find those at statechampsnetwork.com. Check them out. And TJ, appreciate you doing that all season long. Real quick, guys, as we kind of finish this deal, talk about just a couple district finals matchups that you're most interested. Scott, we'll start with you.
I think the Orchard Lake St. Mary's Brother Rice game should be more interesting than it would normally be, and it's already really intriguing. So it will be exciting to see for me how St. Mary's responds. If maybe that could give them a boost and put a scare into Brother Rice, who I'm predicting will go win a state championship. And then Clarkson Waterford Mott is something I've been looking for. I talked about it last week. And then finally Milford knocked off Lakeland and will play Walled Lake Central, who knocked off Western in an LVC district. And I was expecting it to be Western versus either Lakeland or Milford. Now Milford plays Walled Lake Central, this kind of upstart under Chuck Spolsky, who when he came into the program had a run there of a bunch of conference titles, district titles. I believe they got to, they got to the quarterfinals one year. And it's first time in 7 years they're back playing for a district title. So it should be interesting out west.
Yeah, so good on the Mavericks. TJ.
Warren, Michigan Collegiate, Warren Lincoln District. They're playing that at Warren Lincoln. It's hard to find that there's, let's say this, it's hard to see that there's going to be a better game than that, at least right now. We'll find out on Friday night about 9 o'clock, how everything else wound up working out. But yeah, that's huge. And then you also have Williamston playing Chelsea. Williamston, obviously, the defending state champions. Chelsea, kind of like an upstart. Well, let's say this, really finding their mold. I expect them to really make a move next year if they don't do it this year. But yeah, with all the state champions still alive, Williamston is definitely going to get a challenge from Chelsea. And, hopefully Coach Cabana, is able to work her magic as she has this year. And, hats off to Williamston as well for what they've given us. And I'm not counting them out yet, but, you still have to play the games. But, yeah, that's going to be a good one.
Joey basketball?
Both in Division II. But, yeah, those
Joey basketball.
Going to be pretty
still
phenomenal.
The state champion until you are no longer the state champion.
Right. So, well, Hamtramck has De La Salle, Grand Rapids Catholic Central. I'm not going to, let's say this. Is it an upset that they lost to Unity Christian? Unity is, if it hasn't been Grand Rapids Catholic Central, it's been Unity Christian over the last 5-6 years. So,
that's right.
So hats off to them. And, one of those guys have usually made the trip to the Breslin.
I love Coach Cabana's son, Joey. That's why I was throwing out the name Joey Basketball.
Yeah, I know. I know.
In case people didn't get the reference.
Gentlemen, this has been great. I'm so glad that we got a chance to do an episode. This was, kind of thrown together kind of late in the game here, but shout out to John Kidd, Chuck Pellerito, Kevin Trzynski for making it all work. And hope you guys enjoyed this particular program. We'll be talking and previewing regional finals next week. There's going to be some really interesting stuff going on next week. Make sure that you tune in to State Champs Hangtime next week. Our next several shows as we kind of wind up the basketball season. Should be barn burners, and there's going to be a lot to talk about. Thank you so much for watching. We'll catch you next week on State Champs Michigan's Hangtime.
State Champs Michigan's Hangtime is presented by Lawrence Technological University. Visit ltuathletics.com and recruit yourself. Hangtime is also brought to you by the Michigan High School Athletic Association, promoting the value and values of educational athletics. The Michigan Army National Guard, a proud partner of the MHSAA. The Detroit Athletic Club Foundation's Athlete of the Year Awards. Applications being accepted now through March 6, 2023 for the male and female high school Athletes of the Year. Check out previous winners and download the application today at dacathleteoftheyear.com. And the Basketball Coaches Association of Michigan. Find out more at bcam.org.